Azur Promilia is a gacha game that we're all looking forward to. It's made by the people that made Azur Lane, so we already know the kind of gooner gacha it's going to ultimately end up being, and we've seen a lot of the live 2D animations, we've seen a lot of the characters and everything, and it's very, very cultured and very much so targeting the degenerate audience in a lot of us. Now, they have been very quiet for, I don't know, months and months, ever since the beta was held, and then this was revealed one day ago. There was an exclusive Manju interview. We're going to go ahead and take a look at it. It has been translated and posted to the Azur Promilia subreddit. Additionally, if you have not already, join the Gacha Hub Twitter community. It is our Twitter community. We're already approaching 400 members, and it's only been up for like 2 weeks or something. We shared everything. We discuss everything. It's a great place to be. Before jumping in, though, I do want to point out, I went to the Azur Promilia booth at Tokyo Game Show 2025. I went there with Braxophone, Gacha Smack, Jenna Zad. There was also Ryuku Sensei, Sevi, and then at one point Rexlant, Steparu. So many of us were there. So many of us attempted to speak to anyone, really, that was there. And we were told that the booth specifically was manned exclusively by Japanese contractors that had no relation to Manju whatsoever. Ananta had a bunch of different staff members there from the Ananta team. The Arknights Enfield team had people there at the Arknights Enfield booth. The NTE team had people there at the NTE booth. So many different booths had actual employees from the parent company there, but for some reason, all the contractors we spoke to, every single person said, no, there's no one from Manju here. Even the person in charge of the entire Japanese event said, no, there's no one from Manju physically at the event any of the 4 days. So that was a little concerning. I don't know what that means. I mean, hell, that could mean that they're just further away from launching. But here's the interview taken after Tokyo Game Show with President Lin. I don't know if that means that he went there after the game show ended or if they just held a conference call with him or something. The interview's short summary. Azur Promilia is one of the most anticipated Chinese games in the anime world, true. Founded in 2015, Manju has maintained a unique corporate atmosphere, figurines everywhere, club activities after work, a dedicated cat pet room. That's awesome. Azur Promilia recently completed their star test, delivering satisfactory results after receiving their game license at the end of 2023. During TGS, we managed to meet Manju's co-founder, Lin Shuyin, known in the public as President Lin. We managed to interview her about AP, Manju, and the current industry. So I guess they were there after it wrapped up. That's surprising, because none of us, we really could not get into contact with any of them. Why has Manju decided to make Azur Promilia after making Azur Lane? One day in 2020, producer Yuan, who is just your typical otaku who rarely socializes, relatable, and gets around 4 to 5 hours of sleep, spending the entire day with cola and a computer, relatable, suddenly got a burst of inspiration and started designing the foundations for Azur Promilia. The team didn't focus on open world, but that naturally developed as we focus on fun first. The name Kibo was designed to sound cute and catchy, and Yuan wanted to incorporate the concept of harmonious coexistence between humans and nature, allowing Kibos and players to develop a mutually dependent relationship. For our team that started in 2D, the transition to 3D was very challenging. We began staffing up. Azur Promilia currently boasts nearly 100 Kibos shown in the last test, including hundreds more design proposals ready. So they're going to have several hundred ready. That is sick. Okay, cool. Less people, more work, more efficiency. So I think Ananta touted like 700 or 800 employees. I'm curious to see what happens with Promilia. Keep working and get the project online is a meme commonly shared by President Lin after her team members in the group chat. Despite the increased size of Azur Promilia compared to Azur Lane, the team still remains relatively compact. The team initially grew from 200 to 300. 200 people is still a lot of people, bro. 300 people is also still a lot of people. While further expansion is planned, okay, so they're definitely going to probably make their way towards Ananta's numbers. It still remains a small but elite team compared to other projects in the industry. There are no purely managers at Manju. Every manager is required to be deeply involved in the actual work. and members are intimately familiar with the game development pipeline, reducing communication costs between departments. Management must also be personally involved in the frontline operations because managers, I'm assuming here, are directly involved in the development process. Game issues can be understood and resolved much more quickly, and it is the flat organizational structure that allows Manju to compete with larger companies. Before we go any further, I do want to take a moment here to thank all of my incredible patrons over on Patreon and my YouTube channel members who allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are absolutely phenomenal, and I genuinely cannot thank you all enough for the support. The good and the bad, players have the final say. You got to be careful with that though, because you give players too much power and you lose your vision. In the anime game industry, which seems to have difficulty balancing user needs, Manju's relationship with the players seems surprisingly good. This might be related to Manju's research and development philosophy of listening to the voice of players and speaking with data. With how free-to-play friendly Azur Lane is, I hope with the feedback that was received from Azur Promilia, they're going to not go the Hoyo route with regards to their gacha then, if they are claiming here that players have the final say. According to President Lin, no matter the creativity, the final judging gets done by the actual players. Manju invests significant effort in gathering user feedback, conducting frequent black box testing, inviting players to the company to experience it. If y'all want someone to go to your company and experience and test a game, this guy right here is more than willing. These confidential tests provide the most direct user feedback, with each test having a clear targeted objective. Sometimes his advice clashes with the creator's artistic aspirations. Our producer Yuan naturally hopes to present his own narrative and creative, but often gets reminded by President Lin that it doesn't matter how good the story is if the players don't enjoy it. True. Promilia's combat system embodies this act. Yuan, a veteran action gamer, preferred a more complex and challenging combat system. That's difficult to do, though, when it comes to gacha. However, the team decided to focus on simpler, immediate, responsive combat, maintaining moderate level of difficulty because the gaming experience on phones differs from PC. Players might play in the bus or in other physically inconvenient environments, making complex operations impractical. I mean, that's the nature of gacha, though. Easy. However, the team is also considering adding tiers of difficulty to provide more options for challenge-seeking players, which is a response to recent player feedback, which honestly sounds good. It's worth mentioning that Kibo Duel system is currently in its basic 1.0 version, with 2.0 and 3.0 coming for Kibo Duel, including more content and gameplay modes. To address the dry patches, the issue of many gacha games, the team has developed a new operating model, hoping to differentiate itself from existing gachas. Okay, this sounds exciting, differentiating themselves from other gacha games. Although details have not yet been released. Fuck! Okay, well, we're going to differentiate ourselves from other gacha games with a brand new operating model, but we can't tell you what it is yet. Damn it. Okay, we hope this innovative approach will bring a new experience to the content rhythm of AP. President Lin believes that players are also the co-creators of a game, with the feedback, suggestions, and criticisms also being crucial drivers for a game's evolution. This attitude of respecting and listening to users has enabled Manju to maintain a stable and positive reputation in the ever-changing anime game market. They really have. They really genuinely have. Both rational and emotional. During our nearly 2-hour conversation, the relationship between President Lin and producer Yuan became gradually clear. President Lin plays the rational role, focusing on mechanic implementation, while Yuan is the emotional dreamer, determining the limit of product quality. This balance allows the team to maintain creative energy while still advancing the project in an orderly manner. Without Yuan's sensibility, the game might lack character, but without Lin's rational planning, the game might be too difficult to realize. While the launch schedule is conservative, they have a launch schedule. Okay. Game updates have already started development, and that means that when players experience a certain version, multiple subsequent versions have already been completed. So, launch schedule is already planned. Game updates, future patches have already started development. So, the game is done. They're already done 1.0, and they're working on 1.1, 2, 3, 4. That is very good news. Because the success or failure of the game depends on the genuine user feedback, Manju is more willing to focus on polishing the game instead, which is great because you only really get one chance, unless you're Kudo, in which case, you know, you get a second chance. But that's because they gave away Shang Liao for free, they gave away so many SSR selectors and everything. This is also the reason why we rarely do online interviews at Manju. Not only is our average social anxiety level high, but President Lin also believes that a pre-launch interview is not as authentic as a positive review from a player once a game is out. And I'm more than willing to give that positive review. Just give me access and I'll play it. While most companies have a well-known corporate spirit that unites everyone or catchy slogans to boost morale at crucial moments, our culture is more deeply ingrained in everyone's daily lives. If I were to find a role model for our company, it would be our commonly shared meme, keep going, get the project online. And here we go. Nice. Okay, so I think what we can summarize here from this is that the game is approaching completion. Like, they're almost done. They're almost ready with it. And they're planning on, hopefully, theoretically, releasing it soon. Right? That's literally what they stated well, not verbatim, but that's what they alluded to more than anything. I think that's actually really cool. And I also want to point out here that I think it's very, very telling that they're working on future patches already. That means that they're finished with the story, they're finished with the content, they're probably likely just like polishing everything ready for release. So I think we're actually very close to release and people just don't know it yet. Now I'm really excited. This was an information bomb that I did not expect, and I guess I'll keep you all up to date with what happens next. Again, join the Gacha Hub. I know you think that you just hit the end of the video, and technically, yeah, you have. And I know your first reaction is to close out of it at this juncture, but don't. No, instead, I urge you to take a moment here and click one of the videos on screen that are coming up in just a moment, so you remain up to date with everything going on in the gacha genre. Trust me, you're not going to regret doing so. Stay flaccid.